It's 4 o'clock on Tuesday, and you know what that means, don't you? It's time for another exciting episode of Taxi's Quarantini Happy Hour. Woo! And here we go. Today we are going to talk about deciding on what we should have or who we should have as our keynote for the 2021 Road Rally. And welcome, everybody. Let me say hello to the folks in the chat room. There I am. Got that going on. So, you know what? Before we get cranking, let me go lower the air conditioning in here. The studio lights are making me sweat. Let's see. You know what? Last time I got up to change, I came back and I was all orange. I'm not going to mess with it. I'll just perspire during today's show. Hello. Wow, you guys, are we getting buffering already? How is that possible? Frustrating. Are all of you getting buffering? Better now. It's not, I checked everything on this end. I checked it all. It's all good. The output settings, I'm checking them right now. Whoop. Output in progress. Quality may be reduced. Can't check that. Okay. Buffering stopped. I swear it's not us. Okay. So anyway, I went back through, was looking at all the suggestions that have come in for the Road Rally so far for panels and classes and such. And about 2 hours ago, I reached out to an old friend of mine who is one of the top score mixers for blockbuster films in Hollywood. I've known this guy for 35 or 40 years. We haven't talked in a while. Now I'm seeing people saying audio. Why, Ewert? Is the audio not good today? Anyway, so my friend and I are having a phone meeting tomorrow. I have a feeling he will do it. It's exciting. He's worked on just huge movies and tons of them for a very long time. So that's about it. Where are my notes? There they are. Okay, so let's jump right into it, talk about what we're going to do for the keynote for this year's Taxi Road Rally. I would like to know, I'm going to take a little Insta poll here with you guys, doing your opinion if you'd rather have a celebrity person or something educational. Sometimes I get to combine the two. Last year with, who did I have last year? The War of Art, Stephen Pressfield. He was both. He was entertaining and educational. So give me a +1 if you lean more toward having a celebrity. People always say, why don't you get Neil Young? Well, I haven't talked to the guy in 35 years. And frankly, sometimes with celebrities, I don't know that they give a lot of great inspiration or education. They're just like, Katy Perry, who used to be a taxi screener, did the ASCAP Expo thing, and people complained about it afterwards, saying, I didn't really learn anything. One of each. Sorry, Jan. It's really hard to book anything, let alone one of each. And personally, I don't see what value celebrities have other than it just looks sexy. Anyway, that's my own personal feeling. I look for inspiration. I want to start the Road Rally out with somebody that inspires everybody to watch the entire weekend, to feel like I can do this. So, yeah, Peter Rahill says something educational and inspiring. So give me a +1 if you think we should have a celebrity, +2 if we should have something educational. All right, so it looks like it was like 90% educational. Still coming in a little bit. We're not the checks, though the education is important. I don't understand what that means exactly. Oh, you're not cutting the checks. Most of these people don't get paid. Um, I used to have Neil Young's phone numbers. There was a time where I could have called him and spoken to him about this. Now, quite frankly, I'd have to call his management company and see if I could get somebody there enthused enough to reach out to him. And if I did, and I got Neil, we could talk about time we spent together in the studio. That's great. Little story time is always fun. How does it help you? That is my goal for the entire road rally from beginning to end, is how can I help this audience, these people, my viewers, taxi members, how can I help you succeed at whichever aspect of the industry, music industry, you want to succeed at? So, I know Neil well enough to know that he would get up there and go, oh man, just be true to your heart, which is great if you want to be an artist like Neil Young. That's why he's been so successful, is being true to his heart. But the truth of the matter is, for most of you guys, you're not like a Neil Young kind of artist. So I don't know that would be something that would be very helpful to you. If I got a Katy Perry, oh, it's so hard being a pop star. So that's why I've spent so much time yesterday asking everybody what kind of stuff you guys want to learn about. And clearly there are two camps. There are the taxi members that are songwriters and artists that are more interested in record deal stuff and label side stuff. And there are those of you who are more interested in getting your stuff placed in film and television. And then there's a third camp of people, which are, I'll do anything that makes me money or makes me successful. I don't care what fashion that comes in, whether it's film and TV or it's a record label. We would learn more from someone who works in the background and makes the stars shine. I'm reading. For those of you who are tuning in later, I'm reading what the chat is saying. A taxi school of truck driving. There you go. Okay, so spit them out. Let me grab my notebook. Just start spitting out your ideas about what you would want for a keynote. Do I know Mike Curb? Actually, Michael Lloyd, who's a very close friend of mine, like a really close friend of mine. Michael Lloyd is actually a stockholder in Curb Records and knows Mike Curb really well. Yes, he was Lieutenant Governor of California. Hans Zimmer. Yeah, no problem booking Hans Zimmer. Phineas. The bigger they are, the more famous they are, the longer they string you along. Here's what they do is they say, possibly, because of course, we're 5 months out. I want to know, can you do this? Can you commit to that date? Well, I'm interested in doing it. Can I let you know in a month or two? Okay, Mr. Famous Person, let me know in a month or two. You check in with them in a month or two. It takes them 3 weeks to answer the phone call or the email. Then once they finally get through to you, they go, oh, yeah, I remember we talked about that. That sounds really interesting. So we're like 2.5 months out, and you need me to commit. Let me check with my manager and get back to you. And then another 3 weeks go by. This is how it goes every time. I've been doing this for 25 years. And then it comes right down to it in like 2 weeks before they go, oh man, as much as I want to do it, I've got to do this thing for a TV commercial and I've got to be in New York that day. It's so frustrating. So not only do I personally feel that bigger people really don't have a lot to offer on the educational side because, it's like, well, I worked at it really long and hard before I became famous. And, being famous is really hard because it puts a lot of demands on you. That's about the extent of the conversation. I know because I've done these things before. So I want to come up with stuff that's inspirational. Susie Quattro, yeah. There's somebody who has broad general appeal. Thank you very much, Karen Brasher. I would say probably 50% of our members aren't even old enough to know who Susie was. Warren Hart, and I never know if you pronounce his name, Howard, whatever. I personally watch his videos. I like him a lot. What are we going to do? Talk about engineering is the keynote. Does engineering apply to everybody? Hey, Warren, how do you set a compressor? What's your favorite frequency in the EQ spectrum? That's a tough one. I've actually thought about him, but I don't know. Someone that knows business, someone that failed many times, ended up successful. Yeah, inspiring is, could I get Stevie Nicks? What value would she have for the broad general taxi population? Hey, Stevie, how does an independent musician get their song in a hit TV show? Or Stevie, can you tell us all about the behind-the-scenes stuff with Lindsey Buckingham? I actually thought about getting Ken Calais back, but we did a big thing with him on stage at the Road Rally in 2019. We had him on an episode of Taxi TV. I think I've asked him almost everything I could talk to him about. We've tried Joe Walsh. There was a year that somebody was bagging out on us, and in an emergency, I reached out. Joe and I have 2 friends in common, and both of the friends reached out to him, and he said he would do it, but he was going to be out of town. This is when we were doing actual, live road rally. Seth Godin, interesting. What would the topic be if I got Seth Godin? I love Seth Godin. I think I've read almost every one of his books. Somebody from the classical music business. That wouldn't have a broad enough appeal. Michael Lloyd's already been our keynote years ago. I already inquired about Barry Gibb. He really doesn't like to leave home a lot. We have several friends in common, several really close friends in common. And what I started the process on Barry Gibb actually a year and a half ago. And the answers I got back were, ever since his brothers passed away, he really just doesn't like to go out and do stuff. He's more of a homeboy. He will do stuff on occasion. Quincy Jones, I've tried 3 times, couldn't get him. Think about people that have a broad general appeal. It's not just about you, and I mean you like individually. It's not, this is who I'd love to hear from. It's like, who would appeal to a mass of taxi members? I thought about Rob Shirelli just because everybody loves him on Taxi TV and he's never been our keynote, but that seems too easy. Lionel Richie, Dolly Parton. Yeah, these people, hey, would you mind doing my little Taxi Road Rally, Dolly Parton? I don't even know who Steve Freeman is. Hello, Darren Fletcher. I would love to get Ed Sheeran. People on that level, can you come and do the Taxi Road Rally so 500 people can watch you live? Shakira, what would you ask her? Her engineer producer is actually somebody that I'm practically related to. My former business partner, who's now passed away, his son-in-law, does all the Shakira records. Can we get him? Who's him? Mozart? George Benson? Oh my God. Karen, you're dating yourself. I think you and I might be the only people that know who George Benson is now. Bobby Osinski. I've had him on a couple of episodes of Taxi TV, and I've actually done a series where he interviewed me for 5 or 6 different videos. Paul McCartney, believe me, I've tried and came very close. Actually, the year that Joe Walsh wanted to do it but couldn't, we also reached out to Ringo and came kind of close with him. Paul McCartney, I've tried a number of times. It just can't make any headway. And I have a really good in with people in the Paul McCartney camp. Jack Canfield. That's right. I'll ask just about anybody, but it's got to be somebody who makes sense. I mean, um, one year we got Robbie Robertson from the band. He spoke at the live road rally, and frankly, as much as I'm very familiar with his history, and I mean, he's like father time of the music industry. He's one of those people that everybody loves. All the people who are actually big stars, big songwriters, big producers, all have tremendous respect for Robbie Robertson. Craig Weissman. I know Craig. I've got a picture of Craig Weissman's big toe, believe it or not. Doesn't have to be somebody who lives in LA, although when we do a live road rally, that's an issue. And believe it or not, what's the bigger issue now is bandwidth. Upload bandwidth from their home really matters. Somebody from the artificial intelligence realm. I actually have several friends who were like geniuses at the musical aspects of artificial intelligence. I don't know that that's got broad appeal. Alice Cooper was somebody we tried that year. Jeffrey Steele has actually done it already, Mark Fell. Jeff and I go way back. My daughter actually co-wrote with Jeffrey Steele. He had no idea that she was my daughter. She got the gig to co-write with him all on her own, which was pretty cool. And she was like 16 at the time, 16 or 17. She's got brass balls. So funny. I can tell how old people are by who they're suggesting. It's really all very personal. Malcolm Gladwell. I actually met Malcolm when he was working on the book about 10,000 Hours, I believe, which I can't remember the name of. I ran into the first guy that ever ran a listing with Taxi, became the vice president of Atlantic Records and eventually the chairman of the board or co-chairman of the board of Atlantic Records. Anyway, I was standing in security line at LAX, recognized him. He's like, "Hey, Lasco, how are you?" We start chatting. His laptop got stolen from security while we were chatting. I felt really bad about that. And just by coincidence, we were actually seated together. He bought a first-class ticket. I got the free upgrade, and we were seated together. Anyway, we started chatting, and he said, "Why don't you come over for bagels tomorrow morning?" And I said, "Okay." So I went to his apartment, and when I knocked on the door opened up, and Malcolm Gladwell was leaving his apartment. He just interviewed him for one of the books, and Malcolm was leaving. So I met Malcolm in his crazy hair for a brief moment. Dennis Sands, old friend of mine. Dave Grohl, I've wanted for years. I've not been able to get through to Dave Grohl. Would love to have him. How many of you guys know David Foster? I came very close to one time. Jack's a West Coast guy. Who is Jack? So funny. I literally, by seeing who your suggestions are, Rick Beato does not return my emails. I would love to get him on. But remember, it's got to be somebody that inspires Taxi members, not somebody who complains about the industry. I love Rick. I watch his videos. How many of you know who Dennis Sands is? Yeah, Keanu Reeves. I'm sure he's got nothing on his schedule. Martin Gravel knows. That's right, Andre. You're 27. 27 times 2 is how old? All right, well, I'll give you a hint. Dennis Sands is an old friend of mine. I've known him for like 35, 40 years or something ridiculous like that. He is the guy who has engineered the scores, probably engineered more blockbuster movie scores than any other engineer out there. Yeah, Phineas would be great. Got him on the list. Let's see, if I have Dennis, think about this. Whoever the keynote is, it's not like I just put them in a chair and a million people get to ask them questions. It's like, "Hey, Dennis, which microphone do you use on, a string section? What's your ratio on your compressor for a cello?" That's not really a keynote. I'll put Derek Sivers on the list. Gosh, he just emailed me a few weeks ago while I was in Israel. I haven't seen him in years, but we used to be pretty friendly, especially when he lived in LA for a couple of years. We got to dinner. A film director. Christine Crepane. Ken Bearden, Mrs. Lasko on the stress of the industry. No, let's rephrase that. You mean Mrs. Lasko on the stress of being married to me for 29 years while I was starting and then running Taxi. Jack Canfield is a fraud. Well, there you go. Right. Ron Schultz is getting the idea here. This is tricky because there needs to be someone who can inspire songwriters and those who write instrumentals. Yeah. Brian Wilson, nope. There's so much to say about Brian Wilson. Genius, not somebody you want to book for a speaking gig. Someone not on medication, boy. Steven Spielberg, yeah, that's not reaching too high. God, you guys are funny. The band Green Day. Frank Stallone writes songs and instrumentals. There you go. Steven Spielberg. Spielberg. What did he spill? I've tried Randy Newman in the past. It's so funny. So many of these are very kind of personal. This is who I'd like to hear from. But I really need somebody with broad appeal. Miss Universe. There you go. Andrew Lloyd Webber. I should go back and pull out my old list from past years of keynote ideas. It's really, not only is it really hard when to finally have the idea and pick somebody, then pick somebody who would appeal to most members, would appeal to most age groups. Who the hit songwriter for all the Motown stuff. I've had him on the stage at the rally like 3 times. I agree, Kenny. Dave Grohl would be absolutely amazing. This would be, we've already had Paul McCartney mentioned. I've tried for Paul McCartney. I've tried for Dave Grohl. Friends of his that I know have said to me, oh yeah, Dave would do that, but I have never been successful in getting him to do that. Oh, Lamont Dozier, that's what I was thinking of. I've had Lamont Dozier, I think, on stage 3 times at the Road Rally. He was our keynote 5-6 years ago. I actually know Lamont fairly well. I've got his home phone number. I've got his cell number. We talk about every 18 months to 2 years. It's just I can't get him back. You can't have a keynote repeat, kind of. Jack Black and Tenacious D. There you go. I'm looking at these suggestions going, what do you guys want to know from these people? Do you just want to, drool all over them? I want you to be inspired and educated. Spinal Tap. There you go. Now, that is educational right there. Max Martin. Let's see, Max has absolutely zero appeal to those of you who do instrumentals, right? We're at home, you can drool in private. There you go. Keep a roll of paper towels nearby. And think about this. I have to write the questions for the keynote interview. So it's like you have to write questions that appeal to a broad spectrum of people. That it's not just, so how did you get your first cut? Danny Elfman, I think we had discussion with him like 12 years ago. David Crosby I can get to, but right, somebody who interviews well. It's tough. Sometimes you get Darren Lamont Dozier, I think we did before instrumentals were such a big thing. That's why. And, he's Lamont Dozier. I'm sorry, Max Martin is huge. Lamont Dozier is somehow on another level. You know what's cool about Lamont Dozier? And I knew this before I asked him. He's unbelievably inspiring and authentic and real. For him, it was all about the inspirational quality. I go for inspirational whenever possible. I should have a list of all the previous keynotes we've had. Robin Ford, oh my gosh, Ken. Denzel Washington, yes, because he's got so much to do with the music industry. Steven Spielberg, why? Oh my gosh. Jimmy Webb, I'll try again. I have actually met Jimmy Webb, talked to him about doing the rally. He gave me his booking person's phone number to reach out to, and the booking person was not the nicest person in the world. How about me? Yeah, there you go. I'm on here every day, all the time. You guys don't need to see me in the keynote. Diane Warren we've had already. Although she was sick. Hello, thank you. I've never seen anybody with such a bad case of the flu. But she showed up anyway and sat there wrapped in a blanket backstage shivering. I know Gary Calamar. I actually had a discussion with him. Let me put him on the list. If I'm not mistaken, I could be confusing him with somebody else, but one of the big music supervisors I asked one time said, give me $500 and I'll go anywhere. That was their response. A huge music, like a top 3 music supervisor. Crosby was on Howard Stern today. That's interesting. Will the lawyer be returning this year? Could be. I don't know. I mean, it's a little early in the game for me to give an answer to that. And once again, I come up against this issue every year, which is some of our best people that we have on panels. I would have them back every year because it just makes my life easy. I know they give out great information. I know they're personable on camera. I know they're reliable about showing up. I know that the audience loves to have them. And then pretty soon, because I've done this now, this will be the 25th year, I believe, you tend to have a road rally with all the same people all the time. Olivia Rodrigo. I love her record. I don't know enough about her to know what I would ask her, quite frankly. What do most taxi members want? Film and TV or their song and both. That's what they want, Ron. That's the problem. That's why last year I was so happy getting Stephen Pressfield. I tried years earlier and it kind of fell apart in the 11th hour. Got him back last year because he really didn't want to be in a ballroom full of people. I don't know if it was a germ thing or a stage fright thing or a what thing, but he and I have spoken to each other, and when we had a nice exchange of emails. We've got a good friend in common that connected us, so he was open-minded about the whole thing. And then last year when I reached out to Pressfield about doing it, he said, you know what, let's do it. And he was great. Unfortunately, his internet connection sucked, which is really frustrating when you're interviewing somebody and you just want that this is the thing that sets the tone for the entire weekend. And I so badly want it to go well every year and have everybody just thinking, man, that was awesome and inspiring at the end of it. And the whole time I'm sitting there interviewing him, I'm thinking at any second now, he could just go black on me and that's it, interview over. So it's really hard to listen to somebody and listen with great intent, also be checking back on the questions that I spent hours on writing beforehand, and bouncing back and forth between following where he's at and interjecting a question that's apropos, going for with something that's already on paper, or being scared to death that it's going to, the whole thing's just going to blow up in your face because of a bad connection. Nile Rodgers, man, I think Nile Rodgers is one of the greatest guitar player producers ever. Sharon Osbourne? I know, nobody's suggesting film and TV. Is Sean Coyne? Who is Sean Coyne? Is that Pressfield's partner in Black Irish Record or Black Irish Books or whatever it's called? All right, so if you had Trent Reznor on stage, what would you ask him? Ken Bearden, you're bringing up something that people brought up yesterday. The thought had crossed my mind on the inspiration, who is appealing to all members and who's inspiring. I thought about putting together, instead of having a keynote, having the keynote be 3 taxi members who went from zero to hero that I know are good on a microphone, they're good on camera, and they have tons of great, information to give you guys. I thought about doing that. What is his favorite distortion box? How to begin the project? Clive Davis. I've tried Clive. I've probably reached out to Clive Davis more than any other single person. And there was one year where he said, I would do this. I'm just not going to be available to be in Los Angeles at the time. So Robbie would ask Trent Reznor. I would ask him what drives him, what inspires him, and when you start a new piece, how do you begin? Okay. Peter Rahal, whoa, I don't know what that whoa is for. Believe it or not, I've actually had lunch with Chris Christopherson many years ago. That was how I met. I've told you guys a story about Cara DiGuardi. She was a new up-and-coming, but all of a sudden very hot, like explosively hot hit songwriter. And we're at what was then the Kauai Songwriting Festival. Real small gathering of like 100 people, and Chris Christopherson was actually interviewed there. He happened to be on Kauai at the time and said, yeah, sure, I'll talk to a group of musicians. So Cara DiGuardi, who I didn't know, I'd heard her name, but I didn't know her, and she and I got invited to a luncheon that was just like industry people and Chris Christopherson. I think there were 10 or 20 of us in a meeting room at a hotel with a little buffet thing going on. And I had seen Cara at the pool. She's not an unattractive woman, I'll say that. And I saw her sunbathing by the pool. I walked by and went, she's cute. Not no idea who she was. And then, like half an hour later, I go into the room for the luncheon with Chris Christopherson, and there's the lady from the pool, but she's wearing like a bikini top and a wraparound on her from her waist down. And somebody said, "Oh, Michael, this is Cara DiGuardia." And I went, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you." And I said, "Oh, you didn't get the memo? The luncheon is dressy?" And she looked at me like, "Die where you stand, buddy." She didn't take to me. Apparently I insulted her. Just kidding around, I mean, she was in a bikini top. Anyway, I think it was a few hours after the luncheon that I was moderating a panel of big industry people, and she was on the panel. And I introduced her as Cara DiGuardia. And she stood up and said, she did one of these, like stood up and went, "Look, buddy, if you're going to moderate a panel, you should at least know how to pronounce the names of your panelists." And I was like, wah, 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 wah. I was just embarrassed as hell. She was 100% right. Afterwards, I walked up to her, apologized to her, and she said, "I've got to say, other than mispronouncing my name, you did a really good job moderating that panel." And that was probably 20 years ago, and we've been great friends ever since. So sometimes things start off on a bad foot. The data scientist at Billboard, the president of Spotify, Lady Gaga. Yeah, boy, Andre, could you imagine how hard it would be to book Lady Gaga? Here, I'll see. I think I can get Lady Gaga on the show today, right now. Let me see. Let me see. Maybe not. Maybe not. No, no, no. Damn, Lady Gaga, where did you go? Can never find her when I need her. Man, all of a sudden I got really hungry. WhatsApp images. Well, if I ever do see Lady Gaga again on my phone, when she's on here somewhere, I'm definitely going to have to give her a heart. Can't find Lady Gaga. No, big emergency. I don't even know what year I had her on there. I don't know. Oh, well. I don't want to spend my whole time looking at my phone when I should be entertaining you people. I just know she's on here somewhere. Haven't I shown you that picture already? I'm probably getting in trouble putting her picture up there anyway. Lady Gaga maybe still lives there. I don't know. She lived in a high-rise on Wilshire, where a good friend of mine lives. And one day he took his daughter, who was like 8 years old at the time. They were getting ready to go somewhere, and they went in the underground parking, and there was like a Bentley or a Rolls or something down there. And all of a sudden, the window rolls down, and there's Lady Gaga sitting in the back seat with her sunglasses on. And she goes, "Hey, little girl, come over here." And she had a whole conversation with my friend's daughter, who was probably just like peeing herself. Jerry Joseph. I have no idea who that is. Wow, it's so funny. The suggestions are all over the place. I've tried Ryan Tedder a couple times. The problem is, you get people that are that busy. They're that busy. And do you have any idea how many people hit these people up? "Oh, could you please, donate some money to this, come and talk about this, come and talk about that." But Ryan Tedder's like full-time engineers everything for him is an old friend of mine. Chuck Cannon and I used to know each other fairly well. I haven't spoken to him a long time. Chris Christopherson, I just heard recently, like a few days ago, is, I think, and I hope this isn't true, but I think reading he was in pretty bad health. I hope I'm wrong about that. Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg, no problem. Yeah, John Mayer does interviews for Berkeley because he went to Berkeley, is a big supporter of Berkeley, and frankly, they use him as bait. It's called donor development, when they're trying to get people to donate big bucks. And I'm talking, I once offered to donate $5,000 to the USC School of Music. Believe it or not, I am quietly a big supporter of some of the music schools out there, and have Taxi, I should say, has written some pretty large checks to support them. I like to put my money where my mouth is. I know if I'm going to support entities, I'd prefer to support entities that are music related. And so I went to a thing. Steve Miller of like Fly Like an Eagle fame was the featured talent. The dean of the songwriting school is an old friend of mine. And I went to this thing, and they're doing fundraising for a new building. And afterwards, I walked up to my friend, the dean of the school. He introduced me to Steve Miller, who once yelled at me for fishing on his property in Idaho. And I said to the dean, I'm down for a $5,000 check for the new building. And Steve Miller lashed out at me and said, $5,000? It was a total jerk about it. So apparently $5,000 is not a lot of money. It is to me. It's a lot of money. Scrolling down to get caught up. Disney writers, I could get Adam and Andy back again. Adam and Andy are probably the two most cut, or certainly among the most, have the most songs on Disney movies of any of the people in their writing staff. And they got their first connection with Disney through Taxi. Whoops. Let me mute that. Come on, Lady Gaga. I know you're in there. Come on out. Damn. I guarantee you, as soon as the show is over, Lady Gaga will be right there on my phone. Yeah, it's Lady Gaga calling me right back. Yeah, that was rather lame of him. I used to love Steve Miller. If I were the celeb keynote, who would interview you? Rob Shirelli interviewed me for something years ago. I think he might have interviewed me on Taxi TV. Anything I've got to say, you guys have probably heard, especially you quarantini people, just because, yeah. Anyway, Disney writers. So, Adam Watts and Andy Dodd wrote many, many songs. Taxi got them to Jesse McCartney, and he cut their song Beautiful Soul. From that, they were offered Disney publishing deals, and because they were signed to Disney Music Pub, they got asked to write songs for High School Musical and Camp Rock, I believe, and ended up with multiple songs on each of those things, which made them quite literally millionaires. And then High School Musical 2 and Camp Rock 2 and just a million other things. Basically, they are set for life, all because of one Taxi connection and Disney. They would do anything I've asked. They've actually been on stage at the Road Rally before. I have no idea, I could get them back, but I'm looking. Dan Weber, I like the mutt idea. Thank you, Darren. Yeah, that was Lady Gaga. It's funny, a couple people mentioned Randy Jackson. Do you know that Randy Jackson was my replacement on American Idol? I've told the story before, so I'm not going to repeat it now. But I've got to say, John Mayer, unbelievably talented guy. Alex Pitsavis, I've never been able to get. I've asked her. Can't believe you can't find somebody. Oh, I can find somebody. Yeah, I've got a Randy Jackson story. Randy had been on at least one panel, if not two, before he was famous vis-a-vis American Idol. Way back in the day, very long time ago, the receptionist at Taxi said, I've got somebody who wants to talk to you about being on a TV show. Me. I've got a nose hair. It's just tickling the crap. Gotta be perfectly honest. I tried to find it and tweeze it this morning. I was unsuccessful. It's been bothering me for like a week. I even use my little electric trimmer. This is like the hair that will not go away. So yeah, if you think I've got a cocaine problem, no, it's because I've got a tickly nose hair. Anyway, phone rings, somebody trying to get you to be on a TV show. I take the call. They explain to me what the show is, a new show called American Idol. And I said, sounds like Star Search. No thanks. I've got a relatively new company to run. I can't take it. They wanted me to commit, I want to say it was like 10 weeks of being on the road for auditions or something. I said, no, I can't leave. Then like a few hours later, somebody else from the same show called and said, look, we've been looking at your CV. We've been looking at photos. We've seen some video of you online. We think you'd be a perfect guy to be on this show. Would you be interested? And I said, no, I just can't do it. First of all, frankly, I was more worried about my reputation than anything, because God, who would want to be like a judge on Star Search? I thought it would be hokey. Frankly, it kind of was. Anyway, then a third person called back, a lawyer, and said, how about you just come down and meet with us tomorrow? And I said, yeah, so you can twist my arm more. And they said, just come and meet with us. Maybe you'll like us or something. Just think about it tonight, and can you come tomorrow to I think it was on the CBS, production lot here in LA, and bring your attorney, your entertainment attorney. And I'm like, yeah, you just want to meet me and bring my attorney? So it turns out they had a third judge. The third judge got kicked off the show. I don't know if it was for sex, drugs, rock and roll, who knows? But the third judge got booted. They needed a replacement judge, and they needed somebody very quickly because they were getting ready to go on the road and start the auditions. And I was the name that kept coming up. So I went home. I talked to Deb about it. She's like, you've got a company to run. You can't do some TV show. I also had a young family at the time and didn't want to, bye, I'm going on the road for 10 weeks. That's not who I am. Anyway, so I called back the next morning to say, guys, I'm not coming. And they went, that's okay. We called your friend Randy Jackson, and he's going to do it. So, yay, good for him. Gene Simmons, he'd make a great interview. A panel of Randys. If I could be wrong, but Kenny Goya, if that's how you pronounce his name, I kind of remember him saying something nasty about Taxi somewhere. Dan Kimpell's a close friend of mine. I told you, Dan Kimpell is my backup. If I ever can't make it to a road rally, because of a family emergency or something, Dan Kimpell is absolutely the guy I would call. I just thought of something. Do you guys know who Bud Scapa is? Google him. Bud Scapa has interviewed more rock and roll greats than probably anybody on the planet. I mean, you think of the person, and he's still interviewing them. He's been doing it for like 40 years or more. He used to be a taxi screener. At one point in his career, he was vice president of A&R at one of the major labels. And right before that, a little bit during it, although he was moonlighting, and then after it again for like a year or something, Bud Scapa was a taxi screener. He's fascinating. He knows so much. I could have him on for 90 minutes talking about all the famous people he's interviewed and the most brilliant things they've ever said. I already talked about Neil Young. I'm so comfortable with him, and I haven't talked to the guy in 35 years or more. But I fantasized it about it 100 times. What would I ask him that's really relevant for taxi members? He would say, screw record labels, screw radio, screw the charts, don't listen to anybody or anything, just make whatever makes you happy. Kip Johnson, how about Jonathan Cain? You're kidding, right? Kip, are you kidding? Because he was my interview in 2019. Let's see. Man, I'm telling you, a good thing this phone backs up to the cloud, because this phone ever got stolen. There's a lot of stuff on here. A lot of history on here. I'm never going to find Lady Gaga or Jonathan Cain for that matter. My wife actually took pictures of John and I backstage before we hit the stage at the road rally. So I've got a couple of one-of-a-kind shots. Yeah, Jonathan Cain was my keynote 2019, I believe. I gotta say, you guys have had a lot of suggestions today, but there's not a lot of meat. I mean, I have written down Hans Zimmer, Phineas, Seth Godin, Craig Wiseman, Derek Sivers, Max Martin, Danny Elfman, Jimmy Webb, Gary Calamar, Trent Reznor, and Bud Scapa. Those are my best picks so far. I've tried Sheryl Crow in the past, no luck with her. Maybe the keynote needs to be a lady producer artist this time. Certainly not opposed to that. It's funny how few have been suggested today. I am not a fan, though, of being picking people for political correctness. If I pick a lady, I would pick a lady. It doesn't matter to me if she's a man, woman, trans, or a dog. It's all about the substance. As Martin Luther King so eloquently said it, it's about the character. Do they have something that I think our members would learn from? I can get to David Foster. I've actually spoken to him before. He and I had an uncomfortable moment years ago. He was actually, he headed up a company called Tonos that, as they called it internally over there, it was the taxi killer. And they went through $19 million in startup money and it failed. And somehow he holds me responsible for that. He and I think Michael Lloyd were hanging out together at a NAMM show once. And he wasn't that nice to me. I'm going to go a few minutes long. Let's see. Yeah, Joni Mitchell's health is not good at all. Do you guys, by the way, Ron Schultz just suggested having a panel of screeners that you could. Do you guys like the idea of having 3 screeners? We've done it before on stage. I don't think I did it last year for the virtual rally. I did have a couple of screeners on last year. Do you guys like the idea of having 3 screeners? Not as the keynote, but just in general, like an open Q&A with screeners? All right, screeners. Let me add that to my other list. And then trying to book the screeners. I've got to get screeners who are good on camera and on a microphone or a stage, because, you know, we've had great screeners that are not that comfortable out in the world, you know. They're not socially comfortable, let's say, but they're great screeners. We've got some screeners that don't want people to know that they're screening because they're moonlighting and they've got to hide it. We've got screeners who will dominate a conversation, so it's tough to put them on with other screeners. And then I have to think about, all right, so do I put a song screener on? Do I put an artist type screener on? Do I put an instrumental film and TV screener? Screeners under assumed numbers. There you go. I really want to do a rally sometime where we have people with bags on their heads, like the Unknown comic did years ago, probably in the 80s. All right, let's continue this conversation on Thursday. I hate to be, like stuck on this, but I've got just enough time to figure it out, and I really am determined to make this year's virtual rally even better than last year's. And in order to do that, I want to put together incredible talent up, not just the easiest people to book, but the most forthcoming with the best information. That's what it's all about. I want people to walk away going, I am so glad that I watched this. I learned so much. It's a life changer for me. So there you go. We will be back on Thursday right here, 4 o'clock. Please give us a like so that the good folks at YouTube like us. And if you have not hit the red subscribe button, click that sucker. And I will see you on Thursday. Oh, I can tell you, by the way, for Mondays, let me look at my book. Monday, we are having a taxi screener named Paul Taylor, who is a master of film and TV music. I would say with somewhat of a specialty on orchestral stuff. So he'll be great. I've never had him join me for a Taxi TV. Don't miss that one. So Monday, be here 4 o'clock for Taxi Screener Paul Taylor, and see you on Thursday to continue this discussion. Please write down more ideas. Think broadly. Who would appeal to everybody? Who would be inspirational? Blah, blah, blah. There you go. Thanks, you guys. See you then. Bye. Bye-bye.